morning and welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim as we continue our reading in Chapter 10, Part 7. A question from Mr. Byans. My brothers, said Mr. Byans, as you know, we are all going on a pilgrimage, and for a positive diversion from unpleasant things, allow me to propose this question. Suppose a person, a minister, a businessman, or other, should have an opportunity to get the good blessings of this life. However, the only way he can attain them, it seems, is to become extraordinarily zealous in certain religious matters that he previously has shown no interest in. Can he still be an honest man while taking advantage of this means to achieve his end? At this, Mr. Moneylove quickly replied, I can see your purpose in asking this question, and if you gentlemen will permit me, I will propose a suitable answer. First of all, I would like to speak to your question as it concerns a minister. Suppose a minister, a worthy person, has received very little compensation, but has set his sights on a much higher standard of living. Suddenly he has the opportunity of getting it, but by being more studious, and by altering some of his principles in order to accommodate the disposition of his listeners. As far as I'm concerned, I see no reason why a man may not do this, and even a great deal more, provided he has a calling from God. He is still a man of integrity, and here are my reasons why. Yes, by preaching more frequently and zealously, first, no one can argue the legality of his desire for greater compensation, and God himself has set before him the opportunity to improve his lot. So then, he may get it if he can do so without any question of conscience. Second, his desire for more money makes him more studious, and thus a better teacher and a more zealous preacher. He has therefore greatly improved himself, and is a better man for it, and this is obviously in accordance with the will and purpose of God. Third, his accommodation to the dissenting opinions of his people by yielding some of his principles in order to serve them will exemplify a self-denying spirit and a gentle yet winning demeanor. Thus he will demonstrate that he is all the more fit to fulfill the obligations of ministry. Fourth, I will conclude by saying that a minister who exchanges a little for much should not be judged as covetous for doing so. Rather, since he has improved his lot in life, and in so doing has also improved his level of competence in his work, then let him be viewed as one who diligently pursues his calling and makes the most of every opportunity that has been given him to do good. And now to the second part of the question, concerning the businessman you mentioned. Let's suppose his business has been meager in this world, but by becoming religious his market may improve dramatically. He may be able to get a rich wife, or a more numerous or perhaps wealthier customers. I am of the opinion that there is no reason why this should not be legitimately done, and this is why. First, to become religious is commendable, regardless of the means by which a person does so. Second, there is nothing wrong with getting a rich wife or more and better customers. Another way of looking at this is that the one who receives these blessings by becoming religious gets good things from good people by becoming good himself. So here we have a good wife, good customers, and a good livelihood, all by becoming religious, and that is good. My conclusion, then, is that it is very good and profitable objective to become a devout person for the purpose of receiving all these benefits. Chapter 10, Part 8. Christian answers the question. Mr. Moneylove's answer to Mr. Byans' question was well received and highly applauded by all his companions. They heartily endorsed all of his conclusions, and thought them to be extremely insightful and profitable. The thought occurred to them that no one would be able to refute these arguments, and because Christian and Hopeful were still within earshot, and in light of their earlier opposition to Mr. Byans, they all decided to quickly catch up with Christian and Hopeful, in order to present the same question to them. So they called after the two until they stopped and waited for them. Meanwhile, as they were walking to meet them, it was decided that old Mr. Hold the World should pose the question to them instead of Mr. Byans. They didn't want Christian and Hopeful's answer to be influenced by the heat of the controversy kindled between them and Mr. Byans at their earlier parting. The group caught up with the two, and after a friendly greeting, Mr. Hold-the-World posed the question to Christian and his friend, inviting them to answer it if they could. This was Christian's reply. Even a baby in the faith can answer 10,000 such questions. For if it is wrong to follow Christ for loaves and fish, as it is, how much more an abomination is it to use him and religion as a means to get and enjoy the world? Only pagans, hypocrites, devils, witches, and sorcerers are of such an opinion. Let me explain. First, let me tell you about pagans. Hamor and Shechem wanted Jacob's daughter and his cattle as well, but they saw that there was no way to obtain them except by being circumcised. They told their friends, "If every male among us is circumcised as they are, won't all our cattle, money, and everything of theirs become ours?" In seeking to obtain daughters and cattle, they used religion as a pretense to get what they wanted. Then there are the hypocritical Pharisees. They were of the same faith. Long, impassive prayers were their pretense, but their intent was to cheat widows out of their houses. God will judge them with greater damnation. Third, there are the devils, of which Judas was one. He was also of this religion. He was religious so that he could carry the common purse, hoping that he might possess what was inside. But he was lost, cast off, the very son of perdition. Then fourth are the witches and sorcerers. Simon was of this religion, for he desired to receive the Holy Spirit only for the money he hoped to gain with his power. Peter sentenced him accordingly. Fifth, I cannot help but believe that the person who takes up religion in order to gain the world will also throw it away, just as quickly in order to gain the world. Judas, for example, hoped to gain the world by embracing the faith, but he subsequently sold his faith, as well as his master, for the same purpose. Therefore, to answer this question affirmatively, as I perceive you have done, and to say that such a motive can be viewed as acceptable and authentic faith, seems to me to be pagan, hypocritical, and devilish. If you adhere to this position, your reward will be according to your works." At this, they just stood staring at each other. No one knew how to answer Christian, so there was a prolonged silence between them. Hopeful was pleased with the soundness of Christian's reply. But Mr. Byans and his friends lagged behind in order to keep a good distance between Christian and Hopeful and themselves. Christian said to his brother, "If these men cannot stand before mere mortals, how will they stand before God? And if they are silenced by mere earthen vessels, what will they do when they are rebuked by the one whose tongue is a consuming fire?" And that's the end of chapter 10. Next week we'll pick up the beginning of chapter 11 in the plain called Ease. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.